Welcome, fellow YouTube traveler. If you don't know me already, I'm Barunan and I'm on a mission to learn art. Recently, I started a world building project. This project is centered around dragons, but that isn't really what this video is about. This video will be about the peoples that inhabit this world, the dragonkin. A little bit about what they look like, where they live, and what their lives are like. And of course, a little bit about what kind of dragons they have. I just can't help myself. Nothing is decided yet, and due to change, but this is part of my process on this project. So without further ado, let's get into the video. I think it is a good idea to start off with the humans, partly because they are the first that I painted, and also because I can relate best to humans, since I am one, believe it or not. Anyway, humans in this world are not too different from the humans in ours. The biggest differences are that they, like all of the dragonkin, have their souls on the outside of their bodies in the form of dragons, and they live on average about 150 years. As humans in our world, the humans in mine have moved away from hunting more and more in favor of farming, which has led to them being able to create great cities. One of these cities will be the home of a civilization that is obsessed with knowledge. And it is usually through their eyes that we will see this world. Since the beginning of the agricultural revolution, the farming dragons have been instrumental for the success of the farms. Their great strength makes them able to pull large contraptions like plows, and their ability to sense the soil makes them very handy when choosing where to start a new field. Another sort of dragon that is very important to the humans are scribe dragons, which come in different sizes. Their photographic memory makes them very good at documenting things. The small ones are used to document battles, since their small size keeps them from becoming a target, while the big ones are used to document things at a larger scale, and are commonly used for cartography. Other types of dragons have of course been very handy when building the large cities, because of their incredible strength. All humans don't live in cities though. Some live in smaller villages, and some of them live more of a nomadic lifestyle down in the cold plains, where they herd large groups of animals that they live off of. They eat meat from the animals, make clothes out of their hides, and tools out of their hoofs and antlers. And for that kind of lifestyle, it is kind of important with all-round dragons that are good at herding and also have a lot of strength that can be used to carry heavier things. They are also very good at keeping their heat. Next up are the orcs, or the uruk, that they call themselves. In my world, there are two types of orcs, and it is the uruk that I will talk about now. The uruk are closer to the orcs of Warhammer and World of Warcraft than the orcs from Lord of the Rings. So they are really large and bulky, with greenish skin. Like the orcs from Warhammer, they are dependent on being active, and most preferably aggressive. They have no idea how to farm, and the wastelands where they live wouldn't make for good farmland anyway. Therefore, their main way of getting food is from hunting and raiding. Because of their aggressive nature and lifestyle, their dragons are shaped to fit that need. Most of the uruk have a hunting or raiding dragon. The difference between them is that the raiding dragons are usually a bit larger and more heavily armored, while the hunting dragons are way better at tracking prey. Some uruk also have large battle dragons, which are really fearsome to behold on a battlefield. Their large size makes it possible for even uruks to ride them. Unlike a lot of other dragons, most of the uruk dragons do not have wings and can therefore not fly. Instead, they use their large sizes to crush their enemies or their incredible speed and sharp talons to run down their prey. Since the uruk have such large tusks, it is hard for them to say a few of the consonants. And because of this, the language that they have evolved sounds a bit harsh, with a lot of K sounds everywhere. This makes it a bit hard to understand them, and the fact that they don't give people a lot of time to understand them before they start to punch away. It is not really known for how long uruk live, because they are so difficult to talk to, they often perish in battle, and it isn't known if they have a good way of keeping track of time. There are, however, records of orcs seen on the battlefield that are huge, which would indicate that they have lived and excelled through a lot of battles. The red rock and sand in the wastelands that the Uruk live in is quite rich in iron, and even though they don't have the greatest wits, they've figured out how to extract the iron from within the rock and sand to create weapons. Their aggressive nature makes them prefer weapons over armor, even though they sometimes make a piece or two. Next to last, we have the elves. Like the orcs, there are two types of elves. One of them lives in deep woods in the crown of really high trees, and the others live on islands in the sea, where they have built large cities that seem to defy the laws of gravity. They are closely related and were once the same people. Now they live in separate societies because of their philosophical differences. Both of the societies are centered around artistry. They love to create, and they love things that look elegant. However, they differ in that the wood elves, that we will call them from now on, think it is important with freedom to be able to get most out of their lives and their art, while the sea elves think law and order is the way to artistic excellency. This difference is why the two societies went separate ways thousands of years ago in the First Age. Since both of their cities are mainly built from wood and their structures are supported by trees, it is very rare that they have dragons that breathe fire. Instead, their dragons have abilities that allow them to store and spout large amounts of water. This is instrumental in the defense of these cities, since fire is a great weakness of their buildings. Elves mostly eat vegetables and mushrooms, which they have become very sufficient in growing at high altitudes. The wood elves also forage the forests for things to eat, as well as sometimes hunting smaller animals using traps or smaller hunting dragons. The sea elves have instead perfected the art of fishing, and they have dragons that have evolved a style of fishing that is close to what some whales do. Everything the elves do, they dedicate their life to, and they turn it into art in some way. Their broad shoulders and long arms make them into excellent climbers and archers. This, combined with their long lifespan and their love of making things into art, make them into formidable foes. But since they have chosen to settle in more remote places, they luckily do not need to use their combat skills very often. Last, and least in height, are the dwarfs. Their short stature and muscular build make them into very good miners, and they have a deep love for mountains. The biggest civilization of dwarfs lives in a large mountain to the west. In this mountain they have built a huge city that goes far below the foot of the mountain. To sustain their need for food, they mainly hunt, for which they have hunting dragons that are relatively large in size, and are some of few of the dwarfs' dragons that fly. They also have a good understanding of how to grow mushrooms underground, with very limited light. Their love for rock and stone has made them come across quite a lot of different metals, which they have become really fond of, and skilled to make tools and weapons out of. They are the ones who largely supply both humans and elves with the different kinds of metals to this day. But because they were first to begin mastering this craft, they have naturally become the best at it. They have something called furnace dragons that have played a big part in the mastery of blacksmithing. They have the ability to heat metal to very specific temperatures, which is very helpful when hardening the metals. Some of the older ones have tails that can be used as power hammers to forge larger pieces of metal, but in later days the dwarves have begun to create larger power hammers that can be powered in different ways. The mountain's close proximity to the Uruk wastelands result in a lot of smaller battles between the two groups, and the dwarves constantly need to be on the lookout for Uruk raids. This has of course led to a rivalry between the two factions, and because of this rivalry, dwarves usually have a strong hatred towards Uruk. All dwarves do not live underground, however. Some have ventured out to larger human cities and work as merchants. Some live their lives searching not for riches in coin, but riches in life. There is one larger colony of such dwarves living closer to the large forest where the wood elves live. In that colony, farming is more important, and they are perfecting the ways of crafting different alcoholic beverages, most prominently ale. And there you have it, a short introduction to the 4 main peoples of my world. There are more that I have thought of, but that will have to wait for another video. But first I want to paint more dragons and also get started on some kind of map, so that it is easier to visualize what the world looks like and where these people live. Now I want to talk just a little bit about the paintings I have done to pair this talk with. These are not the best paintings I've done, but I'm happy with how they turned out. And they are good mannequins that I can use for scale when showing the size of dragons, and to see the size difference between them. I really enjoyed skipping the line art on this one. You haven't seen it, but before I did these 4, I did a number of ones with line art that I didn't like. I'm still not good enough at drawing lines with the tablet for it to be part of the final illustrations. So a good solution to that for now is to just start painting directly. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. It is the longest I've talked in one video so far, but it has been so much fun to come up with all the quirks of these people. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a like and subscribe. It helps me out a bunch, so thanks again. I think that is all I have to say for now, so see you in the next one. Okay,